everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be the anti-TBR tag. I've seen this tag going around recently. I'll link the original creator down below, but I think this is such a fun idea because I know that I'm always looking for books that I really want to read, but I think it's also interesting to talk about the books that you have no interest in reading for one reason or another. I just want to give a disclaimer that these are my opinions. If one of these books or series or whatever is like your favorite book of all time, please don't get mad at me because these are just my opinions. Everyone has different tastes and preferences, so I just wanted to put that out there that these are my opinions. Please don't get mad at me if we have a different opinion. So yeah. So the first question is a popular book everyone loves but you have no interest in reading, and for that one I picked It by Stephen King. I know that this is a very popular book. I actually have seen the recent movie from I think 2018. It was a good movie. The children were incredible actors. Like, they're all really good actors, so I enjoyed the movie, but I have no interest in reading the book because, first of all, it's like over 1,000 pages, I believe, and I know I don't have the brain capacity to read a book that big, and I also don't want to read it because I know that there's a scene towards like the middle or the end of the book with the children that's just a little like creepy and weird. So yeah, I have no interest in reading that book for those reasons. And another book or like a series is the Shadowhunters Chronicles, or just that entire like Shadowhunters universe. I have no interest in reading it because there's just so many books. Like, it's a whole universe that honestly I just think I don't have the time to get into that, because there's like the main series and then there's like another like a follow-up. Like, there's just too many books, and the whole like premise of the books doesn't really interest me. So yeah, I don't want to read that series just because there's way too many books, and I don't have the time to read all of those. Like, whenever I'm reading a series, my limit is like 5 books. When a series goes past like 5 books, I'm like, no, I'm out. Next question is a classic book or author that you don't have an interest in reading, and for this one I'm gonna pick Lord of the Rings, but I think it's J.R.R. Tolkien. I know that this is a very popular series, but I honestly just don't have any interest in reading it. I don't really know what it's about, and I haven't seen the movies either, so if I do want to get into that whole story, I'll just probably watch the movies. I just don't have an interest in reading the books, and I never have, so I'm realistically never going to read them. And another book that I have no interest in reading is Lolita. I don't know who the author is. It's Vladimir something. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but yeah, I have no interest in reading this book because it's just kind of creepy. Like, the whole like premise of the book just doesn't sit right with me. Like, it's just really creepy, so I just don't have an interest in reading that. And as far as authors, I have read a few books from this author against my will, and that is William Shakespeare. I was forced to read those books in like middle school and high school. I read Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth, and yeah. I just don't have any interest in like actually going out of my way to read the rest of Shakespeare's books. I have the book Romeo and Juliet, but I'm never going to read it. I just don't have any interest in reading it. But the Romeo and Juliet movie with Leonardo DiCaprio is really good. Like, I really enjoyed that movie, but I just don't have any interest in reading any more of Shakespeare's works. Like, I read his books in high school, and I think I'm done with that. Next question is an author or problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading, and for this one I have some unpopular opinions maybe. That is J.K. Rowling. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I don't care. I have no interest in reading any of her books. I never read Harry Potter in like middle school or high school, so I don't have any emotional attachment to the Harry Potter series, and honestly I'm kind of grateful for that because J.K. Rowling is a terrible person, to say the least. So yeah, I don't have any interest in reading Harry Potter or any of the books that she has under like Robert Galbraith. Like I don't want anything to do with the J.K. Rowling. I can't imagine having such a like emotional connection to those books and then learning that the author of them is a transphobic piece of shit. So oops. I don't want to support her or anything that she stands for. Like she's just the epitome of like a terrible person, so I don't want anything to do with her. And another problematic author whose books I have no interest in reading is Cassandra Clare. I've heard some things about Cassandra Clare, like she's plagiarized works or something. I don't know. And then one of the Shadowhunters books, I don't know which one it is, but there's like incest in it. So yeah, I have no interest in reading that. I watched a video all about like Cassandra Clare and everything that she's done, and when I watched that I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Next question is an author you have read a couple of books from but you decided that they're not for you, and for that one I couldn't really think of any authors, but I think for this one I might say John Green. I did read Looking for Alaska, Paper Towns, and The Fault in Our Stars when they first came out. I think I was in like high school, and I enjoyed them at the time, but now I honestly just have no interest in reading any more of his books. The only book of his that I kind of do want to read is Turtles All the Way Down. Like I'm really interested in reading that one, but besides that I don't really have any interest in reading John Green's books. Like there's just really nothing that stands out to me about them. Like I read those books when they came out, I watched the movies or like TV show, and I'm done with like that whole John Green universe. But I might read Turtles All the Way Down, we'll see. But besides that I really don't have any interest in reading any of his books. Next question is a genre you have no interest in or a genre you tried and couldn't get into. And for this one, once again, I couldn't really think of anything in particular, but something that did come to mind was like self-help books. Honestly, I just have no interest in reading self-help books. I don't like people telling me what to do, so I don't want to read an entire book about someone telling me how to like change my life. Like I just have no interest in that. And then I guess another genre that I haven't tried reading yet is horror, because I don't really like scary things. So I haven't read any horror books. I don't know if I'm ever going to. I just don't really have any interest in reading like horror books, but if there is one that has like an interesting premise, I might give it a try. So I'm not like completely eliminating horror books from like books I want to read. So yeah. Next question is a book you bought but will never read, or a library book you borrowed but never returned. For this one, I think I'm gonna have to say Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I bought this book in high school. It was my senior year maybe. We were doing an assignment on Phantom of the Opera, so I bought the book for some reason. But honestly, I have no interest in reading it. Like I don't know why I bought the book in the first place. Like I didn't need to like read the actual book, so I don't know why I bought it. And it just sits on my shelf. Like I honestly forget that I have that book. So yeah, I have no interest in reading that book. I think there's like a musical. I might like look into that, but I just have no interest in reading the book. Next question is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started but DNF'd. So for this one I have two. The first one is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I read Cinder in I think 11th or 12th grade. I enjoyed it and I just never picked up the rest of the series. So yeah, I thought that it was a good book, and the whole like series just seems really interesting, but I just never bothered reading the rest of the books, and I don't think I'm going to anymore, because whenever I'm reading a series I like to like binge them, and I don't see myself rereading Cinder anytime soon. And the next series I have is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I read the first two books in I think 11th or 12th grade, and I enjoyed them at the time. That's because I didn't really know much about books, and I thought that those books were like incredible. But then she released what's the third one called? What's the A Court of, not Mystery, A Court of Wings and Ruin. I think that's the third book in the series. and I honestly just never read it. I tried reading the first like 2 chapters and I just couldn't really get into it. I was just over it at that point. And then she released like a novella, and honestly, I just have no interest in reading those books. I never finished the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and at this point, I don't think I'm ever going to. I literally sold the 2 books that I had. I sold the first 2 books on my Depop because I just don't really care about them anymore. So yeah, I'm never going to finish a series. And also, like, adding on to that, I don't have it on my list, but also Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I'm never going to read that series. There's like 7 books, or like 6 or 7 books. There's just too many books. And I tried reading the first one, but I just couldn't get into it. So yeah, I don't really have any interest in reading any of Sarah J Maas's books. And the last question is a new release you have no interest in reading, and for this one I also have 2. The first one is A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy that talks about like President Snow, I think, and like his background and how he came to becoming like the president and why he is the way that he is. And honestly, I don't care. I don't care about President Snow. I don't want to read like 500 something pages of President Snow like struggling or whatever. Like, I just don't care. I don't think this book really needed to exist. I have no interest in reading it. Maybe if it had come out when the Hunger Games books came out, I might have read it. But now I still love the Hunger Games. Like, I'll rewatch the movies. Well, the first 2 movies. The second movie, Catching Fire, incredible. I've seen the movie like 5 times. Like, I'll rewatch the movies, but I just have no interest in like reading any more books in that universe. When this book was first announced, I was like, it's 10 years too late. So yeah, I have no interest in reading that book. And the other new release that I have no interest in reading is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I think it follows Edward's point of view. Like, I think it's Twilight, but from Edward's point of view, and honestly, I just don't care. And I never read the Twilight books. I might have read like half of the first one, then I just stopped. But I have seen the movies. The movies are good, but I never read the books, so I have no interest in reading a book from Edward's perspective of all things. Like, if the book was from like another character's perspective, then maybe, but like a book from Edward's perspective, I just don't care. So that's it for the anti-TBR tag. I think it's fun to just like look through and think about books that you have no interest in reading, because as readers we're always looking for new books that we want to read, but I think it's interesting to just think about the books that you don't want to read so you don't waste your time on them. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.